Head coach of the Washington Commanders, Ron Rivera, joins us now on the Rich Eisen Show. Thanks so much for taking the time today.
No, thank you, Suzy. I appreciate this.
So what did you figure out against the Eagles? How were you able to stop this undefeated team?
Well, one of the things that we've been working on is running the football and getting, having Brian Robinson back and really just kind of working himself back into shape was something that we really felt could be a thing for us. Trying to control the ball, time of possession. We felt that would keep Jalen Hurts off the field.
Makes a lot of sense to keep the best player off the field, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Has your
Most
team?
certainly.
Sorry about that. Has your team turned a corner? Do you believe?
Well, I think we're putting ourselves in position that we can play to that standard. We can play like that. If we play to our abilities and do the things that we're capable of. And quite honestly, running the football is one of the things that I think we can do well.
Let me ask you about your quarterbacks. How's Carson Wentz doing coming along?
He's been coming along well. He's been cleared to throw the ball. He was throwing the ball yesterday. He'll throw it again today. We haven't cleared him yet to return to practice. And it's one of those things that just obviously takes time. And we'll see how he is after he throws it today. Yesterday he finished up. He didn't have any ill effects this morning. He was fine. Got his treatment, and so he'll throw again today.
And what about Taylor Heinicke? I mean, he's gone 3-1 with him as the starter. But what are you liking the most about his development as a young player?
Well, one of the things has really been his the way he plays. He's a kind of let it all hang out type guy. He's learning to be a little more patient. He's learning to take a little bit more of what's being given to him by the defenses rather than just trying to force the throws. And he's aware a little bit better in terms of pass rush. So he's been dumping the ball, getting the ball out of his hands. So he's not taking the big hits that he took last year. And the one thing I love about him, Suzy, is I love the way he plays with that underdog mentality because his teammates feed off of his energy.
So what do you do as a head coach when you've got two good players and you've got two guys who can play at a high level? How do you use your gut to decide who's going to lead your team?
Well, the biggest thing, obviously, is listening to the players, watching them, seeing how they respond, see how we're playing. And that's right now one of the things that, I'm leaning on, is that I've got a guy right now that's hot.
It's awfully hard to go when you're looking at two players when somebody keeps going, keeps winning, and the guys rally around them. I mean, how do you take away? How do you as a coach decide that you're going to make a change like that?
Yeah, and that's the thing that believe me, has honestly kept me up. I mean, I've thought about it a lot, and it's something I knew I would face eventually as a head coach, that having to make a decision on a player like that.
What's the best piece of coaching advice you ever received, and who is it from?
Coach Dicka, he told me a couple of things that I stick to. He says, Ron, don't ever let anybody on the outside make your decisions for you. He said, because when you start doing that and something goes wrong, they're not going to take the responsibility. And then John Madden told me, don't ever forget, you're the head coach. Everything will start and stop with you. So make your own decision. So I had two greats, two Hall of Famers basically tell me the same thing, and that's really go with, what I believe in.
And he told you to be on time. I know that as well.
Yes, he did. That's one thing Coach Madden did tell you.
I want to pass along our condolences from Rich and from myself on your mother, Dolores, passing away this past Halloween. We were all so moved watching you after the game with your players around you, getting emotional, saying that your mother would have been proud. What was it like for you in that moment? What was going through your head?
It's kind of crazy, Suzy, because you never really get a chance to grieve and when you're in the NFL unless it's truly the off season. I lost my brother when we started training camp in 2015, and I really didn't have a chance to grieve it and until the season was over. I had an opportunity at the end of that game, and just thinking about her and realizing that she would have been proud. But at that moment, I really couldn't speak to the guys. And I did. I went into my office and I had a private moment, which was great, which really was. It was very cathartic.
Just to hear the players say, "We're with you, Coach." How did that make you feel in the moment?
It made me feel supported. It really did, that the guys were there, that the players and coaches were there, our staff was there. It felt right. It really did.
You know, I was listening to Jimmy Johnson this morning on Dan Patrick talking about all that he missed with his own family because he was with his team families and missing things with his kids, missing things with his wife. And can you just talk to us about what it's like to live a duality, to have a family that you're working with as a coach, but also with a family at home?
You know, Coach is so true about that stuff because there's so much that you do miss, the little things, and I do kind of liken it to somebody that was in the military because, you know, when my dad eulogized my mom, one of the things he said was that, you know, she really raised them by herself most of the time. And I feel like that to a degree with my wife and kids, that Stephanie has done so much, you know, while I've been busy. But I will also say kudos to my wife, too, because one thing Stephanie does is she demands for family time. She demands for her date night. She demands for her Daddy Fridays where she would come bring the kids to me and I would be able to spend time with them on those Friday afternoons after work. So, you know, I was very fortunate I have somebody like that. So it's tough. It really is. And you know, and sometimes I do deal with a little bit of the guilt.
Before I let you go, we'll talk about the 40th anniversary of the Band is on the Field game. Obviously, you are a linebacker against John Elway. 5 lateral passes in 23 seconds. We're going to have Jeremy Schaap on tomorrow to talk about the E60 doc that's coming out. But what is your greatest memory from that? And, you know, of course, I have to ask, was it an illegal forward lateral?
Oh, nothing was illegal. Everything was perfect above board. Are you kidding? You could have drawn up any better. Just the euphoria of winning the game. You know, there are arch rivals, and, you know, Stanford is. And when you look around college football and in the NFL, when you have a rivalry game, you know, and I likened it, you know, there's a nice little book that's been written that came out called 5 Laterals and a Trombone. And the neat thing about that book is, you know, and I said it when I was interviewed for it, is that the neat thing about it is Stanford, it's like your brother. You know, you want to set him straight. You want to, if you get into a fight, you want to beat him up, but you don't want to hurt him because he's your brother. And there's a lot of respect, I think, between Cal and Stanford, and that's what I think makes the rivalry so special. It's like when you watch Michigan, Ohio State, you know, you watch Auburn, Alabama. You know, there's these types of rivalries that just are very, very special, and it's kind of neat to be part of one of them. Yeah,
I'm taking the kids to SC UCLA tomorrow at the Rose Bowl, so that should be a lot of fun. Just last thing, what do you remember from watching the band storm the field, from watching the kids storm the field? What do you remember in that moment? Of course, it was 40 years ago. I mean, I don't remember what I did yesterday, but still, what do you remember?
No, that memory is very strong. I do remember seeing Kevin Moan crash into the trombone player in the end zone going, we just scored. Oh, my God, we just scored. So that was, I can remember that. I was standing on the sideline, watch it as it unfolded. So
can't thank you enough for your time. Have a great time out this weekend.
Cool. Thank you, Suzy.
Thanks for your time.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.